Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, brought to you by the No Fallen Heroes universe. Man, what a great week. Hopefully everybody's doing good. I'm really excited for today's podcast. We're going to have Dr. Kristen Rosie Barnes back, I think, next week. She's going to finish up her psilocybin and I think ayahuasca debrief. I forget. She's doing incredible. Make sure you watch episode 91, the last one with Dr. Barnes, starting at the Naval Academy as a young lady and kind of being told to hide mental health issues in the military was not an auspicious start for Kristen and her naval career. So please listen to Dr. Barnes, to Rosie's podcast. She's an incredible human being. Honored to know her, honored to have her as our chief medical officer. And she's putting the ladder down to help save and change the lives of our veterans, first responders, and their families. Have another incredibly special guest who we were just talking about, actually knows Rosie as well. So I'm gonna make this intro, and let me lead with this. I think this is our second Army personnel. So, I got to focus on the left side of the bell curve, right? So one more Army person I'll allow. I think I've reached my limit of Army personnel, but we'll power through it anyway. I'll try and lift our average up. Thanks here.
For suffering through us.
Exactly, man. I couldn't be more thrilled to have you, Lolo. But Lauren, Lolo, call sign Lolo Feringa, absolute Renaissance woman. You're going to dig everything about this woman. She's on a mission to revolutionize veteran care. She's a combat veteran. We're going to dig into this. She understands the struggles of transitioning back to civilian life. As I said countless times, the military does an incredibly good job turning us into somebody that can do some pretty awful things to another human being. And then when they're done with us, they kind of do a crappy job of transitioning us back to being a human. So we're going to dig into this. But she deployed to Iraq between 2009, 2010 as a clinic medic, an ER medic, and a line medic. It doesn't get any more tip of the spear and frontline than that, folks. Dealing with just daily healthcare and obviously ER trauma for a platoon while conducting patrols for base security. So first of all, thank you, Lolo, for that. Literally on the tip of the spear. Got back, motivated by her experiences. She co-founded, I absolutely love this name, Hippie and a Veteran Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing access to alternative, right down our alley here, PTSD treatments. Now, at the heart of this work lies a commitment to decrim and expanding VA access and coverage for these life-changing therapies. Her tireless advocacy extends beyond the confines of her organization, and she uses her voice to influence legislation that directly impacts veterans' well-being. Lolo's dedication doesn't stop there. Balancing the roles of motherhood and legislative influencer, she embodies the spirit, truly, again, of a modern-day Renaissance woman. Whether she's lobbying for policy change or educating veterans on cultivating their own medicinal resources, Lolo is a beacon of hope and empowerment for her fellow comrades in service. So, wow, Lolo, welcome aboard. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for such an amazing introduction.
Now, you bumped into our Director of Medicine Operations, Nicole Fox, up at Reconsider in New York, right?
Yes, I did. That
sounded like a magical weekend. Can you just give us a high level of that? Because I actually missed it, and Nicole went for us.
Well, doing this stuff, I don't know what the way I'm working, it's pretty isolating. I'm a mom. I do a lot of my work from home. I get to see people, but even in Washington State, it's like, maybe a couple people a month when it actually comes to working on like decrim or VA stuff. Mm-hmm. So much stuff is distanced and remote, which is crazy. I can't believe we can do so much like just at home. It's really opened up what I can do, but I don't really get to see, especially like a lot of other veterans doing similar type things or like people as deep and aware in what I'm doing. So, it's people from different pieces, but it's never people like me. And I feel like when I went there were just so many people that were doing the same stuff I'm doing from the same perspective I'm doing it. And it's like, you don't have to explain. I'm constantly having to teach and educate people everywhere I go, whether I'm talking about veterans, the specific things that are tied to different types of service or being a mom. Like, yeah, it was just, I didn't have to explain anything. And we got to connect and talk about these things at such a much higher level, it feels, than I'm educating all the time. It was such a connecting experience and empowering, like, to see how much work is really being done right now and being done by veterans.
I'm glad.
And people working with veterans.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying this, because just like you know, I kind of got my rusty machete feel like I'm hacking out a blazing a trail, and I don't know if it's working or anybody else, or is there any other hacking going on? And then you go to these type of events and you're like, all right, man, we got our tribe. Yes. And I love the name of your foundation, because I actually have used this before, you know, digging into your mission and figuring out all this stuff. It's funny, because when I went to psychedelic science, was it over the summer? I actually have said this. I'm like, I can't believe I was in a massive room with thousands of thousands. We had hippies, we had veterans, we had athletes, we had politicians, both Republican and Democrat. That energy was swirling, and to all be unified and have all those arrows kind of pointing in the right direction was just crazy to me. So the hippie and a veteran thing is awesome. It definitely resonates with me.
I love that. Initially, before I got into doing any of this specific work, I honestly was like trying to like stay away from veteran stuff before I like really deep dived into healing after I had my son. But so we did like van life. And so we just started out as just like a little adventuring Instagram. And it was hippie and a veteran, like hippie for my husband and then veteran for me. Even though we had used psychedelics both similarly throughout our lives, you know, me being in the service, it was just like a stark contrast, but it also, hippie and a veteran also refers to me. So it just, the different ways that it relates to people, but also that juxtaposition that people don't think those things go together, except they do.
Lolo, I'm going to tell you, we'll dig into this and we're going to backtrack, because I want to talk through some Army stuff, but, and I hope this resonates with you. I absolutely guarantee you one of the reasons these healing medicines are legal is because they have the capability to turn warriors into peacemakers. So it's so interesting, you know, back in the 60s, 70s, hey, you young man, go on the other side of the planet to kill a yellow man that you've never met. No, I love that guy. What do you mean you love that guy? What did you take to make you love that guy? This? Well, now that's outlawed, and here's your weapon, go on the other side of the planet. So, you know, the government, as you know, labels things the exact opposite of what they are. A Schedule I drug is no therapeutic use and a high risk of addiction. That's a cigarette, and that's alcohol. 100% legal, but the stuff you and I use to try and help our veterans heal, that's a felony. Well, thank you, Oregon. Thank you, Colorado, for kind of blazing the path. But let's backtrack, because I'm fascinated about your Army experience. Talk us through a young lady entering the United States Army and going to Iraq, and some of your experiences.
So I have a really interesting experience with the military, but also with psychedelics. I joined having been a little club kid. I went to raves, and I met MDMA a long time ago.
Before the Army?
I did.
Okay.
Yes. So when I went in, people used to call me hippie all the time. And which is funny that this is the way my life ended up.
The universe provides, doesn't it?
It does. I had mushrooms the night before, or I went to MEPS to ship out. The first time I ever actually met like plant psychedelics. And so then I went to basic training, and I loved it because I was just in that beautiful bloom afterwards. But throughout my service, I knew I could always return back to that. Like, I knew I couldn't do it all the time. Sure. So I would periodically try, but you know, you get on with life, and then you also see, like, you start having actual mental health issues, and you're told that stuff is bad. So you try the other stuff, and clearly the other stuff doesn't work. But yeah, so I was a medic. I went to all that training down in Texas, and then I moved to Minnesota for a little bit and was in the National Guard up there. And then I worked doing training and getting people ready with like CLS courses for a while. But at a point I was like, I'm teaching people how to do these things. But I haven't done them in real life. And so that feels weird. And so there were some deployments to hop onto. So I hopped on one. And then I went to Iraq, and that was war. And I don't know. We lost people, of course. I volunteered to stay longer because they needed more medics. So I was in Basra for the first time, for the first portion. And then I went up to Baghdad after that. But I did a lot of QRF and patrol and PSD. So got to go out, which, I mean, I'm thankful I got to, because like being stuck inside of one place, getting shot at all the time doesn't feel great. You feel a little more empowered to be able to move around. So I feel bad for people that really just spend their entire times just only on the base, because that's a mind fuck. And
getting attacked, just sitting there being a bullet sponge or a missile sponge. It's just, and not being able to punch back necessarily, Exactly.
Like you can't expel that energy anywhere. It just builds up inside of you and just all that fear. But so I got to move around a lot more, which was great. I think, in the long run. But then I came home. I ended up taking a job with Medical Computer Systems, MC4, under the General Dynamics contract, because I was in the National Guard. And so I worked a sweet deal so I could go contract. But looking back now, I'm like, it's because I didn't feel comfortable at home. Like I came home, people were like eating, people doing bath salts. And I was like, I don't want to be here. Like that was what was on the news when I was like back home trying to decide, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to try and deploy again? Am I going to do this? And I was like, this country is scarier. I would rather deal with people that want to shoot me than people that want to eat me. And I remember thinking that, and just the stuff going on the news, everyone's fighting. I think the picking up of anger at everybody was picking up on the news. And it just became unbearable. So I took a job. I went to Afghanistan, and then I was there for like 2 years. So I spent 14 months over in Iraq, and then I went and spent way more time in Afghanistan. I saw more trauma as a civilian contractor working on medical computers than I ever did as a medic.
Oh my God.
Crazy. And I saw a lot as a medic, but I didn't want to be home. It didn't feel, my nervous system was now made for that space. And I couldn't come down here.
So you kind of got rewired to that, felt more comfortable than the quote strangeness of home.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was rough. And then I finally decided to come home. I got married again. I'm a good Army soldier. I had lots of marriages.
I get it.
But I came home, but I had met my ex-wife in Afghanistan. So we both like trauma bonding, and then come home. And then, you start letting it go, and PTSD comes out from both of you. And that didn't really last. She went back to Kuwait. I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking.
Oh no.
And then when we finally had agreed to separate, I went out and I started dating on dating apps, because I'm like, oh, this is what the kids do these days. So I found I found my husband on there. Actually, our wedding anniversary was yesterday.
Oh, congrats!
Thank you.
So they can work. All right,
they can.
That's good news.
Yeah, it works. I honestly, I went in and I was like, I don't want monogamy, blah, blah, blah. And then I met my husband, and he's a vegetarian and a civilian. And I was like,
there's the hippie.
I could survive on steak. And I'm like, This is weird. I was like, you're supposed to put that in your bio because like I'm not making special food for you. Except here I am, 8 years later.
And you like your steaks. I love hearing that, man. I'm a carnivore.
I had a big steak last night.
Yeah.
Nice rare one. It was lovely. I'm pregnant right now too. So like,
no way. Congrats. Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Number 2.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Oh, God bless.
So
that's fantastic.
Thank you. But yeah, I started smoking weed again when I got with him because I didn't have to hide it. My ex-wife was a federal a corrections officer, so I didn't keep it in the house.
Oh, wow.
So I used cannabis throughout my service. I'm just smart. I'm a medic. I know how to clean teeth or,
I got you. Preach. So, you know how the system worked. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I started smoking weed again. And I was like, I had just gotten off sleeping pills. At one point I had overdosed on sleeping pills. So I had started switching over to more plant things.
Was this military prescription? Was this a VA pill factory? Yeah. This was, okay.
Yeah, total VA pill factory. Cause I'm, now getting care at the VA, but it started when I was in Iraq.
Okay.
When we lost our guys, I started having sleeping issues and all these issues because I'm dealing with such an immense amount of grief. And then also I'm scared they're going to kill me too. So oh
my God.
Sleep definitely is one of the, also being on QRF, your schedule's all over the place.
Yeah. Circadian rhythm. You're out of it, man. Your fight or flight's pegged on both and you're a slave to I'm dating myself. I was going to say slave to a beeper, but you're a slave to a horn or a beeper. But man, so you must have been, you're on the edge. You're walking that fine line.
That just started down this path. Cause once you start on those things, once you expand your nervous system with these medications, your nervous system gets used to those. And when you already have a nervous system that's stretching out, it's just, you're expanding its capacity to overwork your body. And our bodies are very, I feel like PTSD is a huge part of evolution and the way our bodies change over generations. I don't know, looking back and doing all this stuff now, it's just so mind blowing how strong our bodies are, but in that strength of trying to survive and, you throw pharmaceuticals in there that can kill you if you take too much.
Well, you can only
it's easy to make mistakes.
Stretch all that stuff too far, and either it's going to break or something's going to happen. It ain't infinite stretching capability. Our body, our soul, our psyche, our everything. It's got to get back to some sort of center at a certain point. Yeah. So talk us through that kind of journey of how you started to find some healing or began your healing journey.
I had first, I was done with Ambien because I really hated waking up feeling like I had a hangover.
Sleep hangover.
It wasn't the wine. I started going over to valerian root and I got my mom is a big herbal person and has always been trying to throw herbs and stuff at everything. So I started using valerian root. So
did you pay attention to her? Did you start listening to mom? Was she right?
Oh, totally. Yes. I'll and especially now I give it up to her because that completely informed the way I was a medic and the way I am now. I don't like taking lots of stuff. If I can use something herbal and something natural, that's been used for thousands of years.
Amen.
Why not go with that? Instead of something, that's new and was just created.
Correct. I'd rather go with stuff that the universe, the creator, God put on this planet for us to heal than some dude or lady made in a lab for profit and patented and trademarked.
Exactly. Because there's also goes into this thing about plant matter within these things. So in pharmaceuticals and medications, they're very, extracted forms of something.
Yeah.
So it's super targeted versus a plant that has also these extracts with plant matter. It's protective barriers in the way you're taking medicine.
I love that. Nicole will kill me. I'm supposed to know this, but Iboga has like 13 or 14 alkaloids in it. So God's a pretty smart pharmacologist,
Very. Makes them safer, actually. So we wrote the initiative for the Washington State, and we don't have any non-natural extracts allowed because I believe in that plant matter being a protective barrier, just for our entheogen bill. But so that always feeds this whole herbal thing feeds into it. And I get that from my mom 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started using valerian root, and that really helped me kick the Ambien. I was still drinking and being a bad kid, and I used to dip and smoke too. So
come on now, Lolo.
It's making my nervous system just all over the place.
You just hit the stereotypical army dude checklist complete.
Yeah, there it is. All of them. I checked them all. Thank you. But then I had started doing, going over, but still using my crutches. And then I got pregnant after I'd gotten out of the military. And, pregnancy is a big deal.
Yeah.
I of course stopped everything right away. I did use cannabis throughout my pregnancy. But I have generations of women using cannabis and stuff throughout their pregnancies. So I'm not going to stop now. I had an amazing pregnancy. He came out, he's beautiful. The VA definitely tried to put me on medications throughout my pregnancy for mental health. And I was like,
oh man, wow.
Not that if that's what somebody has to take, that's great, but that's not my choice. We try to not put things in our bodies when we're pregnant. You really have to monitor and gauge your different risks. And so everyone's risk profile is going to look different based on our lifestyles. And so for me, that's just not the thing. Also, those medications never really work too well for me. So I was like, I don't want those. Some of them make me feel so apathetic, just blah to everything. I don't want to feel like that. I was already too scared.
Good for you.
And then I was doing great after I had him. I didn't have postpartum or anything. But then I started tanking, 6 months after I think I had a hormonal shift. Okay. And it triggered, this is the thing. It's always it's hormones. Yes. Okay. It can be triggered by hormones. Also, I'm still having PTSD symptoms. Exactly. I'm still agoraphobic. I'm still hallucinating my dead friends. I'm still unable to fold my clothes, or I'm unable to do all the stuff. I'd also broken my wrist. So I was immobile for a huge section. It was hard. And I was scared to go to the VA. And, but I started microdosing, and that got my head above water. And then I was able to find SGBs, and those also helped. And so SGBs and mushrooms are my thing. Those are mommy's little helpers.
Did you, microdosing probably was on your radar before this, or was this a new, hey, I've heard about this? So you you had situational awareness.
Yeah. Prior, I was going to start microdosing right before I found out I was pregnant. I had actually already been cultivating. Oh, okay. And had my first grow. Because I periodically was using a lot more psychedelics after I met my husband. And I was like, clearly this is making me feel better. I just need to start microdosing. Let's just.
Oh, all right. Good.
And if I'm going to microdose, I might as well grow it myself, because I'm a big gardener. Yeah. So I'm like, I got this. Yeah. And I think cultivating is a really good thing if you are a medic, you're a gardener, and those two things, we already have half the supplies. So I started doing that. But then I got pregnant and I was scared to take them. Okay. Because I knew in my brain that they couldn't hurt me, and they were not going to hurt my baby, especially in comparison to the other things the VA is trying to offer me. Exactly. But I was like, you know what? I'm already using cannabis. I don't need one more thing for CPS to come after me for. So instead I gifted all of those away. My husband got them and got to have a great time. Yeah. But finally, when I was really not feeling well, my husband was just like, he brought home some mushrooms. He's like, just try it. I was breastfeeding. He's like, you're fine. It's not gonna I mean, it comes out of your urine within, 24 to 72 hours.
Yeah.
Come on. Mm-hmm. So I tried that and I was like, oh my God, you have I had a little cup and I just put a little scoop. It was probably more like a 300 to 500 milligram amount of mushrooms. Cause it was before I was like, had my scale out.
Your scale and
yeah. Like now I use way, way, way less, but in those moments, I think my body probably needed that much too.
Yeah, it was,
I was exhausted and I just like could not regulate. I was able to eat finally. I could do all the house chores that I couldn't even do like one in a day.
Wow.
Because I'm just like petrified and just trying to take care of this baby and trying to not be a bad mom and trying to not like have people come take him away because I'm going crazy, and also trying to not let anyone know I feel like I'm going crazy because you're just like,
I love
my
this.
My mom was adopted, right? So there's like generational trauma of child loss in my family. And I don't know, not child loss, but just like,
yeah, I get it.
It hurts.
Sure.
And so I'm already scared of that. My husband was already a cannabis felon. My grandpa was a cannabis felon, like long before the war on drugs even started. So I have all these little other things coming into my brain about like my reality. And it was hard. But microdosing shut all that down. My ideations were gone. I felt amazing.
Wow.
I was able to go and figure out how to get an SGB at the Long Beach VA because I happened to be right next to them while they were doing the research study.
Wow.
Their first one. Because I felt so called to go back home to have my son. Like, I feel like it was like divine intervention, like every time.
Trust the universe.
Because I just have
trust.
Yeah. My husband had all of his access to all of his friends. I did too, to all my family down there. So like I had nice, great access to plant medicines with people that were supportive. And then I had the SGBs being done right there. And I went in there and had that SGB. They scheduled me on the decade anniversary of losing my guys in Iraq. That's the day that they had open.
Wow.
Available, sliding me in. I'm not even a part of their study. They just slid me in. And that was the one day they had available. And I went in and it changed my fucking life. The pain relief, I must have been having such a bad circulation issue throughout my body while breastfeeding, not being able to eat. And just like my body was shutting down. And the pain went away. I could see better because it helps circulation in your eyeball.
Absolutely.
It was like microdosing, but different. And I think they work so well together. Like now it's like a part of my protocol that I work and guide people with.
Wow.
Because it's just like, let's get you your SGBs, even if they're just the little tiny chronic pain ones. If you're dealing with chronic pain in your shoulder, like so many of us having worn gear and like shooting. So that's where, I have a lot of issues from shooting in my arm. It's just, SGBs are really great for that. And then mushrooms help with chronic pain. And
I love that. Pilots, for all my fighter pilot sisters and brothers listening, pulling G's, the back issues from pulling, 7, 8, 9 G's. It's brutal. We need to go back here because ladies who are listening, this was a life saving maybe, but definitely changing moment. Good close friend. I don't know if you know Melissa Lavrasani from the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition. I don't think so. I'm going to intro you. She's a big kind of lobbying firm in DC trying to move forward our missions. I bring this up because she found the mushrooms and microdosing in the medicine after the birth of a child she just did not feel connected to. And she kind of sounded like where you were and couldn't do any of that stuff. Found the medicine and boom, instant reconnection with her child and just it changed her life. So ladies who are listening, this is just absolutely fantastic. You don't have to have pills shoved down your throat from a beaker and a big pharma company. God, whatever word you want to use, source, creator, truth, divine. goddess, God put this stuff here for a reason. And it sounds like it helped save and change your life, man. What an incredible.
It's such a safe thing too. That's the thing. Like, we're always worried about safety for moms.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we
already know these things can't hurt or they can't kill you. Yeah. And microdosing is such a small, little tiny amount.
Subperceptual.
Subperceptual. It boosts your serotonin naturally. Yeah. It gets your body to do what it's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. When I went and had that SGB done, I asked them, I was like, how many moms did you have in this study? And they're like, I don't know. Whoever responded, right? Yeah. They don't advertise it out. So they're just getting generally a lot of guys. Mm-hmm. You're not getting postpartum breastfeeding moms, which I think is really fucking important, because that's the time we really need help.
You need support. Help. Yeah. Now, what's an SGB for non-military folks that are listening?
They're stellate ganglion blocks. It's a little vial of ropivacaine, which is a local anesthetic that goes into one or two of the glands along the side of your neck. Yep. It doesn't pass through any other structure. So it's just right below the surface of your skin. Mm-hmm. And they block it out for 24 hours. No other medicine is left in your body after this. It's a 24-hour effect of numbing, just like numbing your gums. And then after that, your body comes back on and your fight or flight response is not like on fire anymore.
You got to feel like literally the weight of the world's off your shoulders.
Totally.
Let me take that ruck you've been carrying and let's just place this over here, physically and mentally.
Yep. And those are also safe. They're on the same, to me, safety profile with mushrooms. Mm-hmm. And if we're really talking about safety, and we are aware that, after a woman as you're pregnant, your amygdala starts to swell. Mm-hmm. So we already have PTSD. And then the part that makes us super scared and, whatever starts getting bigger. Mm. And then we're not trying to rush to take care of us.
Correct.
We need the support, and these things can help us. The microdosing is something we can do at home. Mm-hmm. We can grow ourselves. We can share with our friends, however the heck it is that people get these. Mm-hmm. And then SGBs are something you can get at the VA. So a big part of what my concept and my protocol is getting people back into the VA, for one, that have, our, parents that are having a hard time, that already probably aren't connected into the VA. There's so many of us that really stay away. Yep. But getting us in there to use the services correctly, because the community care program is kind of screwed up.
Well, I know that's one of your main missions right now. So talk us through a couple of your main missions right now with Hippie and a Veteran, and how folks can maybe pitch into the fight.
Yeah. So, overall, I don't want to keep, I'm trying to work myself out of a job. I don't want to have
that. I
don't want to do this. I have other stuff to do.
Lolo, you and I are spirit animals, because I've said numerous times, I don't want, the No Fallen Heroes Foundation should not exist. I'm a little pissed off that it does. I say this all the time. I love you. I don't want to be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. Where are you, Uncle Sam? You made a lot of promises and you're kind of reneging on them. So let's you and I work ourselves out of a job. I love this.
Exactly. That's what I want. So, I mean, at the root cause of this, it's not just access and whatnot. We also have a community care program that only allows for 6-month referrals. SGBs cannot be given on a 6-month referral. You need those at least 12 months.
Oh, okay.
Or unless you can get it on a PTSD mental health referral, which can last for 2 years.
Okay.
But until they get that FDA approval or whatever, they're not putting it on a PTSD referral, which makes no sense, because the VA operates outside of FDA rules all the time.
That's right.
They prescribe medications outside of the parameters all the time. Yep. So there's no reason they can't do this. There was a bill a couple of years ago called the Treat PTSD Act that all the politicians just abandoned, because they all wanted to go play fuck games with each other and fight about shit. Yep. And then COVID and everything happened, and So we actually had a chance to nationally direct the VA to begin providing these. There are clinics in every single state that provide them. We just need to create a more streamlined process for them. So I know there's all this like work, like trying to get it FDA approved. I don't care because we don't have to do that. We just need to fix the system to allow them to do this. So I don't know what that's going to look like completely. I just know that if I keep telling people to go in and request these and they start demanding them, that the VAs start giving them, because Seattle VA just started. Oh,
good. Okay.
So
I constantly tell people all of this, folks. This is a we the people moment. This is pitchforks and torches. This ain't going to come from them down. They're not going to, our leaders, you ready for this, aren't going to lead. You know, when I'm in DC and meeting with folks, congressmen behind closed doors, they kind of, you're going to have a problem with big pharma or alcohol, tobacco. I'm like, isn't that your job? So I can already tell these people aren't leading. And, I'll talk to heavies at the VA and they'll look left and right and go, hey, Whiz, we're completely on board. You got to go talk to the lawmakers and the leaders. I'll talk to the lawmakers and the leaders. They're like, oh, we love it, but you need to go talk. I'm like, it's a circular firing squad, man. So as these people stand in their circular firing squad, we the people need to really grab the pitchforks and the torches and lead from behind, so to speak. And it's frustrating, but it's what we're going to have to do.
But I see it working. Look at all the work that we're getting done with psychedelics. Like, amen. There were people that were already here that should have been handling this shit. I'm mad that I thought that I was going to have all this stuff by the time I got out, and it's not there. At least psychedelics wise, like I thought we would have at least decriminalized or descheduled cannabis. When did we? At this point. What was 2017, 18, MDMA was given breakthrough therapy status. I'm like, what's your definition of breakthrough therapy? Here we are 7 years later. Hopefully, the FDA has given us a date. We're in a mental health crisis. This is my other thing. We're in a crisis, right? Yeah. So mental health and an opioid epidemic. So it's not just veterans. Correct. It's civilians. Fentanyl. We're all having a problem. Yep. All the things. And I'm not like, I don't want to go down this path of like COVID, but one thing is we got those shots approved real fucking quick. Yeah, we did. Because we were in a crisis. Yep. And if we're in a crisis, why am I not seeing the exact same thing for my people? So I'm going to turn it, I'll be loud. Yeah. I'll do what I have to do. Preach. Because they're not doing the right thing. They're not treating this like the crisis it is, especially since we actually have the fucking solutions. Yeah, man. So Lolo, we don't have to create it. It's already there. Lawmaker who shall remain nameless. This guy was kind of just not listening to the narrative. I'm like, hey, bro, there's a mass shooting in the veteran community. 22, if 20, God, I don't even like talking like this, but if God forbid 22 to 44 children were being shot every day in our schools, even the pro-gun nuts would go apeshit. We would do something in days. There's a mass shooting in the veteran community on a daily basis, and we're not doing anything about it, or we're paying mealy mouth lip service. To your point, so this is great. I love how fired up you are, Lolo, because to be honest with you, there are some our brother and sister organizations who love to wear the nice suits and go to the dinners and hang out and do that stuff. You and I in the trenches, man, I'm honored to be a squadron mate with you, because we need, there needs to be some pitchfork. Everybody has to play their puzzle piece, and this is mine. Yeah, we can attack in parallel. I'm a medic, I'm a mom. Yeah. You got yours. Exactly. Like we are, like, we got our, like, I don't want to have to go wear the suits. So you go, I'll do it sometimes. Yeah. But I like being able to cuss people out sometimes. I'm correct. Speaking truth to power, man. I mean, and if the power doesn't sometimes they need that. Yeah. If they don't like hearing the truth, that's kind of part of the problem. But thank God we got Morgan Luttrell. I did the medicine with his brother Marcus, and we got Congressman Crenshaw, Zinke. So, and the president, thank God, signed the NDAA with a little bit of, what was it, a minute and a half of funding. So it's
It's I'm torn, right? Because people are like, Whiz, you need to be thankful. I'm like, I need to be thankful for a minute and a half of funding. Are you people insane? So talk us through, you had some, I was looking at your Instagram story the other day, Washington State. Talk us through the battles you're having up. And I couldn't believe what's going on in Washington State with some of the jails and and you're in the Guard, right? Are you still in the Guard or?
No, I was working as the suicide prevention coordinator.
I saw that,
but I got too pregnant, and I was like, I have like nerve damage, so it was it became, I had to drive a lot, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. All right. I have to But so I was working with the Guard because it's who I got out of or got out of the military with here in the state in the CAV unit down south. I'm a CAV medic. Clarify that. That's why I dip. So
I told you, stereotype complete. We check that box.
There we go.
Yeah.
So legislative wise, there's interesting stuff going on, and I work a lot doing that up at the Capitol.
I would have thought you guys, I mean, thank you, Oregon and Colorado. Where's Washington? I would have thought you guys would have been like leading the fight too. And in California.
Everybody does do mushrooms here. That's the thing. We already have them. So everyone is really kind of comfortable. They're like, why am I going to rock the boat? I have my own mushrooms. Yeah. Like we can all get them. However, like I know the difference between smoking weed in an illegal state and an illegal state.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like taking mushrooms in Kansas or Missouri versus taking mushrooms in Oregon or Colorado. Mm-hmm. So I've had those experiences, and it changes the way you're taking the medicine, especially as somebody that was supposed to uphold the law.
Correct.
As like you're supposed to be a part of the government, and here you are. You can't take that out of your brain when you're tripping. It's always there.
It is.
It's a reality.
It is. If
we get to take that away, it changes the way we're able to receive the medicine and the way we're able to process. Mm-hmm. It opens up this different part of the brain. Like to me, that's how it feels. So like I said, people are really, I don't know. They're like, oh yeah, the state's going to do it. Cause like, that'll get our, doctors into the clinics and, people into the VA, like we have going on in Oregon.
Yeah.
But it's not happening fast enough. I think Governor Inslee, because I'll say names, was not very happy with the legalization bill that we all championed for last year. For the second year in a row, turned it in, demanded that all the stuff go away and it be turned into a work group. For the second year in a row, like, why do we need to do another damn work group?
Yeah.
Like, can we do a work group on every single other pharmaceutical that's coming out?
Precisely.
I want to see that done in each state.
Exactly.
Because like mushrooms, we actually have generations of use.
Exactly.
It's so weird. Mm-hmm. So that happened. I saw like a bunch of people doing psychedelic legislation here or trying to write an initiative. I tried to work with them. They're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Mm-hmm. And they just harbor a lot of unhealthy behaviors within the community. And like I said, I say it because like I'm pointing people that have hardcore PTSD, MST victims, moms. I cannot point them to a bad community.
Correct.
I will not do it.
No.
So I ended up rallying a bunch of the other organizations that I felt were a lot more respectable, or more responsible, right, is the right term. And we wrote our own initiative to decrim. It's a beautiful one. I'm really proud of it. It's probably not going to get on the ballot this year, but I don't know. You never know. We're expecting probably closer to 2026 will be decriminalized in Washington.
Okay. Good.
But a part of that, I went back to work, and I went back to go work on base, which was 2 hours away from here because I live up in the country. I live like out in a valley where no one can see me. I'm in like a 14-acre forest.
I love it.
I'm like a forest witch.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's peaceful, and it feels better to have more trees than people around me.
I love that.
but I started working again, and I went back for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half. But it helped me get to talk with other people about psychedelics throughout the space. Like in the office I worked in, it was the Joint Services Support, where they housed sexual assault response, the chaplains, family programs, children's programs, ESGR, any of the soldier supportive services that are needed. That used to be the old office that I worked in previously. So I went back there, and I mean, a lot of those people are just like my dearest friends. So it was good to go see them and help out again. But also to feel the need again. Like the need is not just upriver. Like there's a problem in service. So I know a lot of people like to joke and talk a lot of shit on the National Guard, but the National Guard deploys just as much, and we die too. So it's
absolutely.
We are all we can all make fun of each other, but when it comes down to it, the services that are allotted to people in the National Guard are just minimal. We can't even, unless you're active duty and you're on TRICARE, there are absolutely no,
that sounds sad.
If you, inpatient treatment options. Unless you're already a veteran that's gone overseas, that's getting care at the VA, you also can't even get care at the VA. So there's just problems. Getting people care is really hard. They still have to they even have to pay for their health care. I don't think that if you are serving in any capacity, Reserve, National Guard, active duty, you should not be paying for your health care. No. That's so stupid.
That's why most people join. They believe the promise that, you get quote free healthcare. Lie.
And you don't.
Correct.
You don't. So getting to see it from that struggle and taking over the suicide prevention role for a little while again, the need is great, and we can't even meet all of the people that are actively serving right now. It shouldn't be like that.
No,
it's systems. It's systems. It's not that we don't have the answers, and it's not that we don't even have a lot of the facilities to take care of people.
Correct.
It's the systems that are running this shit show. And
that's what's maddening. It's the bureaucracy, folks. It's not, there are humans in these positions that want to help or do stuff, but it's broken. What was the temperature when you went back and said, hey, here's kind of my mission, and I use psychedelics to heal folks?
Well, I'll say, I don't know. I a lot of my friends are still serving. My VP is still active on base. She's works for military honors, funeral services for the Guard. Yeah. So I'm still deeply embedded. All my friends are just now retiring, or they have a couple of years. So my friends all see what I'm doing. Social media is my place. I put it out there, and people think I'm weird or crazy, but I'm just trying to make sure everybody sees what's going on.
Amen.
Because this is not me. This is us.
Correct.
And we all need everyone aware of what's going on. And if there's something that you can do to help, you're not going to know unless you're seeing where you can fit in. So Dave, we're all super supportive.
That's good. The awareness is critical. Yeah, the awareness is critical. And I started this journey 3-4 years ago. You can imagine the fighter pilot community, I'm getting just totally slammed, and then all of a sudden over the years, my DMs are lighting up like, hey man, didn't you make fun of me a couple of years ago for doing yoga and then finding the medicine and meditating? And now look I give him a little bit of grief, but it's the awareness. So the more awareness you and I can bring to the healing capabilities of these medicines, the more freer people feel to talk about it. For whatever reason, if mom and pop America look up to veterans or the military or even athletes that are using some of these healing medicines, we're going to help change that narrative. So it's good to hear that people are waking up. I thought Washington and that whole side of the country was wide awake. So I'm glad to hear they're getting there a little quicker.
Yeah. And it definitely helps having the stuff in the news, having leadership throughout, the state being look what I found, getting them in messages all the time. Cause they're excited to see. A lot of those people, I'm their medic. So
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I'm still a medic to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm always going to be a medic. It's not like our stuff goes away. It's not like
Nope.
who we are happens to magically disappear.
Yeah.
So I have all these people that, still look at me as a medic or their medic. And then they're seeing this stuff in the news and they're seeing me go to DC or they're seeing me go and speak at these different places.
Mm-hmm.
Like it helps them be a part of it.
I love it.
It helps motivate them. And it also helps them to, which I hope more than anything, that they just go do some damn mushrooms.
There we go.
And if they need help, you always got your medic to call you. The amount of calls I've taken from people that are like, okay, I want to try microdosing. How do I do this? Well, this is simple. So it's a quick call. You can also check in with me throughout the process. But it's just people being free to be able to ask questions too. Like that's such a big deal. Just motivating them to do it. Like, I need you guys to please be rebellious. Of all the times that you needed to be rebellious, this is the time.
Question the narrative,
it can
man.
help you feel better.
That's exactly right. Especially when it comes to your mental health or life-changing or saving issues. Question what Uncle Sam is telling you. Always ask why. And second of all, follow the money and you'll start getting some answers. But it's so cool that your troops look at you because, you're doc, you're their medic and you're a medicine woman. You're a healer. So you're kind of all this things wrapped up into one. That's a pretty special position to be in.
It is. It's like super honored. I mean, there's a couple things that I'm really honored to have been. Like, I'm honored to be, a mom. Like, I love my husband. I think he's amazing. And I'm, honored to be his wife because he's such a good human being. But like being doc, like. It's
a big deal. Big responsibility.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm also trauma bonded to it. So I can't
let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that like the medicine's not going to heal. That just gets stronger because that's like built-in love. Like it doesn't take away love. It just makes it stronger.
We did we did our first healing retreat in the United States. We've been forced to go to Mexico, Costa Rica. We went to Colorado and we did our first retreat at the end of October. And we had one of the first responders to the Columbine massacre. And he, as a medic, as a firefighter, paramedic type of guy, he was, a lot of damage. But to your point, after sitting with the medicine, he's like, man, this just magnifies my role as a caretaker, he's like, on the medicine, man, I was going around the library at Columbine to each one of you like you were my children and I was taking care of you. So you're right. You're kind of trauma bonded to it, but I think whatever made all of this kind of has put you in the right seat on the right bus at the right moment. And I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks. Right back at you. I'm so thankful. So many people are like, it's a good feeling. I feel safe. Yeah. I think a lot of people like organizers and stuff, they feel more in survival than veterans get to feel because I trust that what you're doing is real and genuine. I trust what all these other guys are doing is real and genuine. Like it may not be my way, but whatever. Hey, Missouri Senate just passed a freaking psychedelic therapy bill for veterans, right? Like I see what we're doing. And so I have so much faith in I have faith in us. Yeah. And I have faith in all of us doing this. Yeah. Like it's crossing aisles, it's crossing houses, it's crossing states. So we have this, I think, bigger benefit too of how motivated we are by each other. And then other organizers, I don't feel like they have that. And I hope that veterans get more involved with this stuff because it helps the organizers work a lot better when they have us. True. Like we get to kind of like, let's keep going. All right, let's keep going. Correct. And we get to I don't know, I think it's helpful.
I love it. As Nicole has taught me well, when you lead with your truth and your heart, you can never fail. And in this mission of putting the ladder down to save and change the lives of our brave women and men who served, there ain't no more noble purpose or calling. And let me swing real quick to a national security issue. The number one source of recruitment for the United States military for generations has been veterans. And we've kind of seen how they treat veterans. So I don't know too many veterans that are like, yeah, I want my kids to serve, especially if they're going to go be bullet and missile sponges over and sitting like you were just for target practice and not fighting back. So, it's my biggest fear with,
I think honestly is that and the thing that motivates me the most, all of my mom's brothers all served. Many of them include my medics. So we're
generational. Yeah.
And we grew up and my mom didn't know them till later in her life. So, and all of the firstborns were all medics and I was too. And this is something like we chose, had nothing. We didn't even know each other, didn't know each other's families because we didn't meet because of adoption until later on. But as much as I love a lot of parts of service. Like I don't have this negative experience. A lot of people often have. There were bad things that happened, but I also think psychedelics help me just see the beauty and the
reframe
good stuff. Yeah, and I don't want my son to go to war.
Amen.
And if there's something I can do to help calm the nation down, because I think that's what needs to happen. It's not us. We did not send us to war.
Correct.
We just answered the call of our country because they asked us to. We didn't send them. If we get to, we can change this though.
Amen.
And we need to calm everyone down. This isn't just a veteran thing. This is everybody thing. This is the people thing.
You got it.
We need to calm down. And I think that plant medicines are a part of that. We see it happening. And it's happening from the open wound, which is us.
Correct. That could not have been said more beautifully, folks. I'll remind you, old Whiz, so to speak, 5 years ago, I would have swam across the Atlantic by now to kill as many Russians as physically possible or battle in Israel and now I'm like, stop. Everybody just stop. Go to your corners for a little bit after doing the medicine.
Seriously, separate y'all.
Just take a break, man. See each other. Old me, I saw egos. I saw shells. I saw nationalities. I saw sex. I saw whatever. Now I see souls. And actually, I see perfect souls. It's this thing that sucks. So if we can break down seeing this thing, this shell and these flags, we are all the same fucking cosmic stardust, folks, that was burst in an instant into this. When you realize we are all that same cosmic stardust, we're all just walking each other home, maybe we can stop killing each other. I mean, war has got to be the bottom right of the flow chart that says we've tried absolutely everything physically possible. And if we have to get to this thing, God forbid, it needs to be violent, instantaneous, and over so we can stop this stuff. As I said when we started this, folks, these medicines can turn warriors into peacemakers, and I guarantee you that's one of the reasons they're dragging their feet. Lolo, this was fantastic. I absolutely am honored to know you. How do we follow you and your mission with Hippie and a Veteran? Throw everything out there so all the peeps know.
On Instagram and Facebook, we have Hippie and a Veteran Foundation, which is our organization where I don't pop off. And then we have Hippie and a Veteran, our Instagrams, which is where our adventure stuff started, where I'm allowed to pop off. That's where my line is.
Got it. Okay. I love it.
And then I'm over on TikTok, randomly yelling at the internet every now and then, or making memes.
I love it.
And then our website, hippieandaveteran.com.
Awesome.
Hippieandaveteran.com,
folks, a 501c3 dedicated to saving and changing the lives of our veterans. I'm honored to have you as a squadron mate. Anything the No Fallen Heroes Foundation can do to support you all, in. And you and I will talk offline. We'll get with Nicole. Let's figure out retreats. You got anybody who needs help?
Love it.
I'm willing to put the ladder down. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Lauren Lolo Feringa. That's Doc. That's a medic, that's a healer, that's an incredible human being, and an awesome mother, and an awesome mother again on the way. So God bless you, Lolo, and everything you're doing. Ladies, and you bet. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. I am Whiz with Lolo from Hippie and a Veteran. God bless. Namaste. Fights on. And Basi, Whiz out.